There. Perfect. Who needs to worry about lighting when you have dual monitors? Hey there. Today I'm here to do my August wrap-up. I read 10 things, most of which were either ebooks or like listening to audiobooks, but I'm actually very happy with that number. 10 is, I think I only read 3 things in June and 4 things in July, so finishing up 10 things I'm happy with it. So getting right into it, the first thing I finished was Searcy by Madeline Miller. I actually I listened to this on audiobook, and I listened to the majority of it in July, but I finished it up in August, so I didn't really feel right like putting it in my July wrap-up when I wasn't even finished. But overall, I gave this book 3 stars. It is following Searcy from, I believe, Greek mythology. And what I learned reading this book or listening to this book was that I appreciate mythology a lot more in theory than I do in execution. Like, I did not enjoy this book. I guess I can't really say that as like an overarching statement. It might have just been this book. I know a lot of people love this book. This book was not for me. I gave it 3 stars. Sorry, I need to get a little bit more concise with my thoughts here. I gave it 3 stars because I think how it's written, and if it was read by the appropriate, like someone that would appreciate it, I think it would be like a 4-star book. I think it's a good, solid book, but my enjoyment was probably closer to 2 stars, so I kind of put it in the middle with like a 3-star. This is an extremely character-driven book, and I am not a character-driven reader. I am a plot-driven reader. I need a plot to keep me entertained while I'm reading, and nothing happened in this book. Like, nothing happened in this book. She was on an island. She was in exile, and the whole, like, she was just hanging out on this island feeding her pigs or her animals or whatever. Like, nothing really happened, and it was just so boring for me. And even listening to it as, like, if I had tried to read this physically, I never would have gotten through it. Even listening to it as an audiobook, I was like, oh, do I really want to finish this? Like, is this really something that I want to dedicate my time to? But I did finish it, and I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, it was like 2 stars for enjoyment, but it wasn't a bad book, so I bumped it up to 3 stars. So after that, I read, I finished up The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rutkoski, which is the 3rd book in the Winter's Curse trilogy. So I'm not really going to go too far into it plot-wise, but I gave it 4 stars. I think it was probably the strongest installment of the trilogy. But it's still, like, it wasn't amazing, but I had a good time, and especially, like, towards the end, it picked up. And I think that's really where the 4 stars came from. The next one I finished was Slumber by Becky Bird. And this was a NetGalley book, and unfortunately, it really wasn't for me. I gave it 2 stars. It is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. But it was marketed as YA, but I think it's closer to like a middle grade, like a very young teen, preteen kind of audience. The writing isn't great. The characters are almost like caricatures. So like she's trying to tell what I feel is supposed to be a serious story with, like, especially one character you can tell is kind of there for comic relief, but even that's like way too over the top in terms of comic relief, and paired with like the not so great writing and obviously it's a retelling, but kind of like you know what's going to happen. It's pretty obvious where the story is going. I just didn't think it was very well executed. So I ended up giving it 2 stars, which I feel kind of bad about, but you know, I don't know if this was her first attempt or what, but you know, it wasn't for me. So next was actually another 2-star book, and this is one that was talked about on BookTube quite a bit too, I feel like, and that was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. If you see me keep looking over there, it's because I have Goodreads pulled up to remind me of all these things. So the Hazelwood is a book that I didn't really know a whole lot going into, which I feel like was kind of good and bad. The main character is very unlikable. I feel like everyone in this book is pretty unlikable. And honestly, like, by the last quarter of the book, normally where a book would pick up and you'd feel like you were getting really into it and like you couldn't put it down, I struggled to get through the last like third to quarter of this book. Like, I just couldn't, like, at that point I just didn't care. Like, you could tell it was getting towards like the climax of the book, and you were finding out all this stuff and everything was starting to make sense, and I just didn't care. I was like, is this over yet? Like, why am I still reading this? I'm not enjoying it. And I actually ended up having my best friend just happened to read this at the same time, and she said the exact same thing. Like, she was like, by the end of this book, I really just didn't care. And like, you see what she's trying to do, but it just didn't work for me. I didn't like it. After that, I read the Visual Guide to Easy Meal Prep Strategies and Recipes to Get Organized, Save Time, and Eat Healthier by Erin Romeo. This was another NetGalley book. This I actually really enjoyed. I gave it a 4-star. So my husband and I actually do meal prep every week. So for me, this was more of like okay, I already meal prep. Like, can I get anything new out of this? Like, a different perspective on it. And while there wasn't like a whole lot of new information in this book for me, you can tell that Erin Romeo, while she was writing this book, she's very passionate about this subject. She's very passionate about like helping people eat healthier and, you know, make life easier in the kitchen, make things more streamlined. And also, she had a lot of good recipes at the end, and some of them were things that I had never really seen before. So, or like dishes that you've seen before, but done in a different way. So I actually thought this book was really good. I would recommend it to anyone that is interested in getting into meal prep. It's definitely geared more towards like a beginner, but I like the way that she did it. And she even like laid out step-by-step processes for getting your meal prep done that you can follow. And she includes different diets, like dietary restrictions in her meal plan. So she has one for like low carb, I think it is. She has a vegetarian one. She's a gluten-free one. She's a dairy-free one. Like, so it's like, she has, I think those are what they were. I think. But yeah, she has like different diets, like recipes and like meal prep that can work for different diets. So I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, that was a 4-star book for me. The next one was the only one that was a physical book that I have. And that is Pandoras Daughter by Iris Johansen. I pulled this out of my TBR jar. This was a 3-star book for me. It could have been 4 stars, but there were just a few things, like a few issues that I had with it. One, I went into it in my Goodreads review, but I'll just tell you right now. So this might be mild spoilers, but I don't know if anyone would be interested in reading this anyway. But there's 2 characters in this book. The main character and one of the... I guess he's kind of a main character too, but... what was her name? Megan. Megan and Neil. They met when Megan was 15 and Neil was 23. This book takes place 12 years later. So she's 27 and he's 35. Math. What? Anyway, so they're both like consenting adults. They enter into a sexual relationship. The problem I have with it is they keep referring back to how much they wanted each other when they first met. When she was 15 and he was 23. And that sounds a lot like something gross. So the fact that they kept referring back to it, like, I just couldn't get over it. I was like, this is so gross. Like, they're having sex. They're thinking about, like, how much they wanted each other when she was, like, a kid. Like, ew, I didn't like it. It gave me the yucks. I didn't like it. That, and I would say there's a little bit of a trigger warning towards the end of the book for, like child sexual assault. It doesn't happen on page, but it's like referred to, so that kind of grossed me out too. It kind of gave me the yucks as well. This is a book about, it's kind of paranormal. It's a book about a psychic, or like a woman with psychic powers, and this guy is coming after her because her mother did something to his son, and he wants revenge, so he is just chasing her around and killing people and just being a general baddie. This video is going to be so long. Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend this book, really. It took me a whole month to read it because it's only 360 pages or something, and it just, like, it dragged, and I didn't like it, and it gave me the yucks, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. All that being said, like, it was okay. It was fine. So I gave it 3 stars. Like, now that I'm talking about it, like, I feel like I should probably have rated it a little bit lower than 3 stars. So I might actually go back and change my review to 2 stars, or my rating to 2 stars for this. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I just keep saying more and more negative things about it, and I really don't have anything positive to say. So this might actually end up being a 2-star book for me. But right now it's 3 stars. Okay, moving on. After that, I listened to White Hot Kiss by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I gave that 3 stars. That's basically just like a, you know, YA paranormal romance trash that I just kind of sped through. I needed something easy after this took me forever to read. I didn't like it. I got through that really quick, and yeah, 3 stars. It's about, it follows a girl who's half demon, half warden, and wardens are on Earth to keep the demons in check. It was okay. There's definitely some stuff in there that, like, it's not even really that old of a book. I think it was published in like 2014, but there's just certain things in it that I feel like wouldn't fly in a book written in 2019. Just kind of like the way they interact and some of the things they say and like whatever. And like the dialogue was really cheesy, but again, it was just YA paranormal romance garbage, and I liked it. I liked it enough. This was my first Jennifer L. Armentrout. I liked it enough that I actually ended up going right into 2 more of her books, and those were the first and second book in the Lux series, which were Obsidian and Onyx. I gave Obsidian 4 stars, and I actually finished Onyx on August 31st, so I haven't really decided on a rating for it. I'm not sure if I would give it 3 or 4, but it's kind of somewhere in there. And these are, well, I don't remember if what they are is said in the blurb, so I don't want to, like, ruin it. Not that they're new or anything. I think they came out in, like, 2012 or 2013, but, I'll just say they're more paranormal. They're paranormal YA paranormal romance garbage books. But, I definitely liked Obsidian more than I liked White Hot Kiss. I didn't continue on in the Dark Element series, which is what White Hot Kiss is. I immediately, like, I'm already on book 3 of the Lux series. So I think the Lux series is better. If you've never read any Jennifer L. Armentrout and you're looking for some, you know, paranormal YA trash, I would say go with the Lux series. Yeah, so I gave Obsidian 4 stars, and I haven't rated Onyx yet, but probably somewhere between 3 and 4. And then the last book that I read, I actually read this in the middle of those. I listened to Obsidian and Onyx on audiobook, and then I was reading the ebook of Carpool by Noelle Adams. That was another NetGalley book. And I gave that 4 stars. That is a new adult romance. It was a novella, and I guess it's the first in like a series of novellas about Milford College, or that take place in or around Milford College. This was about our main character, Jennifer. Something goes wrong with her car, and she has a 45-minute commute, and the only other person that lives near her is, Marcus. And she and Marcus grew up together in Sterling, and they never got along. Marcus was kind of a bad boy, and she's a good girl. And so they just kind of stayed on their own, whatever. And he's a facilities director, and she's a financial aid, whatever. She works in the financial aid office. So she kind of like puts her tail between her legs and goes and says, look, you're the only one that lives here. I can't afford Uber. I can't afford to rent a car. So can we just carpool to work for the next few weeks while my car is getting repaired? Turns out her car takes a lot longer than that. And I mean, you can probably kind of guess, like, you know, they come to an arrangement with the, you know, they're driving, they become kind of closer. And they come to an arrangement, a sexy one, and it was a good time. This book was very, at first I wasn't really sure how I felt about it for the first like half of it, but then like once I got to know the characters a little bit better and we got more into like the meat of the story, and it wasn't just, oh, so Monday morning came and we drove to school, and then Monday afternoon came and we drove home from school, and then Tuesday morning came and we, like, once it was through all of that, there wasn't a whole lot of that, but once we were through that part and into, like, the meat of the story, I really liked it, and the ending was really good. I think it was well done. The steamy scenes were good. It did end up having more of a plot than just, we drove to school, then we drove home, then we drove to school, then we drove home, and I appreciated that, and like, yeah, it was 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to anyone that likes new adult romance. It was good. So yeah, those are the 10 books that I read in August. I had some duds. I had 2 2-star books, which doesn't normally happen to me, and potentially a third if I end up lowering the rating on Pandoras Daughter because this book was garbage. But yeah, I didn't have any 5 stars either, but I did have a bunch of 4 stars. So that's good for me. Yeah, so that's everything that I read in August. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you enjoyed any of them, if you have the same opinions on them, if you've read this trash and what you thought of it. Yeah, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.